Hello and welcome to StoryFellas, a podcast where we make stories and we break stories. I'm your host, Tommy Antonucci.
And I'm your host, Zach Lovelace.
And for those watching on YouTube, you already know, but we are visited by a guest today, our friend Collin Ausbury. Collin, say hello.
Hello.
Don't say anything else the rest of the podcast. That's all we need from you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Collin is a good friend of ours. We worked with him in the past. He is a very talented cinematographer.
Tommy, we're off to a rough start here, but that's okay. That's okay.
Cinnamon. He loves cinnamon. Collin, do you want to give those who are meeting you for the first time a little introduction to who you are, what you do, what you're about, what you
look like? What you look like?
Yeah. Describe what you look like.
I have a buddy, Chris, and whenever Siri reads out his name, it says Chris, medium skin tone man riding a bicycle.
Oh boy. Pushing the Apple iOS to its max here.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Collin. I make videos, started making videos a long time ago, never stopped. I still collect Pokemon cards, and
nice.
Yeah, that's all you need to know.
Yeah, that's good. It sums it up, man.
Boys, yeah, these are my boys.
Yeah.
He's
especially that Pokemon card thing. I don't care about the cinema stuff. That stuff is
who cares about that?
Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I don't care.
Yeah.
Colin's being too modest. All these things are true, but he does them to the nth degree and very well.
Yes.
Reviews lenses, reviews Pokemon cards. I don't actually know. Like Minty Boy, are you reviewing them? Or are you like teaching?
Oh no,
all of everything.
We're kind of just selling them. Yeah.
Selling them.
I have a personal collection, so all those boxes back there, those are all cards. And yeah, I have a personal collection, and then whenever I get cards that come in that I have duplicates of, I sell because I already have one of those. So yeah,
nice.
It's a fun time.
So you have a minor and a major in your life. The minor being the Pokemon card thing, the major being videography.
Correct. Yes, I would say.
When I was visiting with these guys recently, we went to a store that had Pokemon cards, and I could not, for the life of them, get these guys out of the store. But it was cool. Collin taught me about Pokemon cards. I didn't know really anything.
I saw that. Yeah, I was across the store, and I turned around. And I saw you kind of taking Tommy under your wing, just explaining.
I was like, what?
Yeah, the different runs, different editions and stuff like that.
It's cool. It's a whole world, man. I like it.
Yeah,
but
it's very fun. Very fun.
Collin, what got you into video? What got you? Tell me about your desire to tell stories.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a big question. It's like
you got 10 seconds.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Question. It's like a existential question. I desperately want to see like good craft out in the world, and not to say that I've reached that point, but that gives a metric for me to challenge myself every single day, and to get closer to like what I envision every single day. So if that's progress, if I'm satisfied, maybe if I work as hard as I possibly can each day, I'll be satisfied and just make that a daily thing, but yeah, I just, you kind of know when you see it, like a good story that just kind of hits you or moves you. And I just really want to get closer to the intended goal from the very beginning. You're the whole Ira Glass thing where your taste is awesome, but you suck.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like that. But just hopefully one day, your taste meets up, it catches up with your yeah.
I was talking to someone recently, and Zach, if it was you, forgive me. I feel like I'm always talking story and video stuff to people, but I totally relate to the Ira Glass thing because I've reached certain points in my life where I can execute on things that I picture in my head. And I'm like, oh, that's more or less. And for a long time, not possible, not even close. Like you imagine this work of art and then it's like crayon hand drawn and you're like, oh boy, this is different. But I feel like it's also like a ladder where here's your taste and then you reach it like with your skill. And then when you do that, then you can almost raise your taste again. And then like you can keep climbing up that ladder. Like your taste continually grows as you develop the skill to reach the taste.
I don't know if that was me, but I do agree with that. And I think it's a lot, I don't drink a lot of wine, but it's a lot like that, where the more you drink wine, in terms of not like an alcoholic, obviously, but you drinking it, you can develop your palate. And so you can taste the differences in things. And, you know, you don't get your rocks off with the dollar store wine anymore, you know, not to say that it doesn't have its place, obviously, but, yeah, in terms of like, we're talking stories and stuff, and obviously Collin is here because he is on the technical side of filmmaking. But what were some films maybe that got you into storytelling, Collin? Just
For sure. I'm a basic boy. I just like Nolan a lot, but Inception was one of those movies that I've told the story 100 times, but like admit me to the hospital. My bladder's about to burst. You know, I'm 14-year-old kid and I'm about to freaking die of like is pee poisoning in the theater because I had to know. And it's like not like you can go back to the theater or anything to see it, you know, well, I guess you can. Maybe I just thought like this is the only time I can watch this in my life.
You're just so engrossed, right?
I was so captivated. Yeah. And I saw for the first time like, wow, that's like, I love movies, but I've never been like that captivated in my life. And that's a really powerful thing. And so, yeah, I just kind of latched onto that. I used to make videos of, you know, me at like my lemonade stand and for school projects and, you know, all this stuff. And then there was the whole world of filmmaking. Like, what is that? Like, someone made that. That's so dope. So yeah, that became an interest for sure. But Inception was a big one. I loved Drive. Skip past all the the club scenes, the whole movie. So the whole first half of the movie is a completely different movie from the second half of the movie. He's like chilling, you know, it's like a Nicholas Sparks novel, and then it goes full berserk, you know what I mean? Just like super XYZ. But the cinematography is amazing. The story, I think, was pretty good. But yeah, very inspirational. And one of those movies that kind of just sticks with you. So I like the very solemn, like quiet expert character. I noticed someone who just is good at what they do, doesn't say a lot of words. And yeah, Drive fits the bill there for sure.
That's why Collin never speaks to us. He never says anything because he's just a quiet expert.
You guys on podcasts, you know.
That's true.
That's true. No.
But no, that's awesome, man. I think a lot of people your age, my age, definitely respect Nolan, and Nolan was the gateway drug for filmmaking for a lot of people. Very relatable.
Yeah,
big time.
Inception is like peak too. I feel like that was. I remember watching it and just mind being blown by this movie and being like, what is happening? Like, I've not seen worlds like the cities collapse in on themselves like this and stuff like that. And then Doctor Strange is like, we can do it too. And I'm like, you did it second. You did it second though. Inception did it first.
Doctor Strange.
It's like when a movie becomes the descriptor, like Doctor Strange, like the first Doctor Strange is fine. I enjoyed it. But then you walk out, you're like, oh, it was very Inception-y. Like it is the descriptor because Inception did it. Like they did it first and they did it probably the best, arguably. So
yeah, I just can't believe they went into Goo World in the second Doctor Strange world, and then we end up in Plant New York. Come on.
Yeah, Doctor Strange 2 is not good in my opinion.
That movie is. I can't even say it. I can't even say what I think about that movie.
There's children present. I can't say it.
But real quick, even though everyone probably already knows, what are some movies that really inspired you guys? You probably have already talked about this, but
it's a great question. Tommy, you go first.
Oh, me? Okay.
Yeah.
I have a few that I circle back to. I really like Edgar Wright. I really like Scott Pilgrim versus the World. It's very bold in flavor, but it is kind of fully utilizing what you can do in the frame to be funny, to be clever, to be interesting. It's like using an extra muscle that a lot of movies aren't tapping into. So I really like that. I like Wes Anderson just the set design, like it's super cool. Just the amount of work, anything that has like high quality set design and production value. It's like, man, I just recognize how much work goes into that. And then I just like good, I don't know, family stories that move you. I like About Time. I like 500 Days of Summer. I know these are kind of rom-coms, but they're just relatable and they feel like true to like how real life is sometimes. So yeah, those are a few off the top of my head, but obviously I like the big epics. I love The Dark Knight.
For sure.
Yeah,
That was going to be
for a
one of
second.
my
I was like,
answers.
Rises? No, The Dark Knight, just The Dark Knight.
Oh yeah, not Rises. No.
No, Dark Knight's just so fun to watch every time. You know, like you just start it, the opening sequence, so great.
Yeah, I mean, as a bunch of Nolan heads, like I've already said, I think Dark Knight is probably up there in terms of awakening a film awareness in my mind. I had loved movies, would collect movies, you know, at DVDs, VHSs, back in the day, you know, and so that certainly was like a turning point. But Jaws is up there for me, just in terms of just a horror film that doesn't feel too horrific. It actually is like horror adventure, which I think is a really nice mashup genre that you don't see very often. And then the stakes are so low and real, and you know, it's grounded in realism in a lot of ways. So I really like that movie. But Cool Hand Luke is another one I really like. Just Paul Newman, great performance and a great story. It has a just good thematic core at the center of it. As a writer, I find that's like what I tend to latch onto most in films, is how the writer uses the themes and how the director brings that out. So that's just a really good one if you haven't seen it. Not a lot of people our age have, I think. So Cool Hand Luke, I think 1967. But and then finally, I might go with something like Unforgiven, a Western from like 91 or 92 with Clint Eastwood, and it's kind of an anti-Western Western, and a real slow burn kind of thing. But again, the way it uses theme, the characters, how they all interact and stuff, it just has such a good cast. And yeah, I don't know, I find it inspiring. So those are just real surface level, you know, things that got me into storytelling.
I like it, man.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of storytelling, I think we're going to tell a story today.
We are.
We're going to, I think I said beforehand, we're going to aim for comedy, but who knows? If the prompt does not lead there, there's always going to be some comedy if me and Zach are involved.
Oh, yeah. Usually we have to dial it back. So
Yeah.
I don't think we'll have a problem with it.
Yep. So let's see. I might have Collin roll for us. Collin, if you want to roll for us.
Okay. What am I doing?
You're going to roll a dice. If you look, you need to roll a digital dice. So you can just pull up Google and like roll it.
Unless you have a pair of dice, or
Unless you have dice on you. He's like, I always have dice in my pocket.
I've been waiting years to use these.
go back alley.
Years to use these.
I need a 10-sided dice roll from Collin whenever he gets the chance and finds those digital dice.
Okay. You got it.
He's using DuckDuckGo.
He's gonna search dice.
All right. I got 8.
8.
Ooh.
8. All right, keep that up in case I need you to roll something else.
Oh.
Don't you dare click away.
It's gone.
Oh no.
All right.
Ooh, okay.
What do we got, Tommy? What do we got?
Not necessarily a comedy. Could be a comedy, but not
It's going to
necessarily
be a comedy either way.
All right, well, it's going to be a detective story. A detective investigates a series of bizarre murders committed by a killer who can control people's dreams. So we've got kind of what we were talking a lot about in Inception. We're dipping our toes into our own dream
That's true.
story here. Let me see if there's anything else. I don't know.
We have a lot packed in there.
Yeah, I feel like we can just explore that, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm
So
down to
there's
explore
a
it.
killer who uses people's dreams to kill them, or
Yeah, I feel like we can kind of explore a little bit of Freddy Krueger, but
Yeah,
not
that's what I was- yeah.
classic. But I feel like disguising this more in a detective story, like almost noir-y a little bit, where we
got
find. Oh, Zach's cracked the story already.
I got it already.
He's
All right,
got
everybody shut up.
get it started.
Stop talking.
So I like the idea. So, we're trying to get away from the Freddy Krueger thing. We run into this often, like with a prompt where it's like, okay, there's really a monolithic entry with this type of thing. Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, people getting killed in their dreams. What if the detective was only in dreams? So like the main character is actually like a normal person. And the detective comes to them and can go to other people's dreams or something to that degree,
Okay. That's
trying
interesting.
to put it more in the dream world. I know that Freddy, that's obviously in the dream world too, but that the real danger is in real life. Like maybe this is a little Minority Report, but what if the detective can hear or can see people's dreams? So like when he's dreaming, he goes and visits other people's dreams and he knows a murderer is about to do something, so he goes and he, again, that's very Minority Report where it's like the crime hasn't happened yet.
So I feel like, are you thinking the detective is a real person, or the detective only exists in dreams? Like he is like
I did kind of say both just then. So, he's real, but then he's like, not real. Yeah, I think I like him being real, but maybe, to just like really put it in like bones on it, basically. Like a daughter's is the main character, and the dad is a detective, and he died years ago. And so maybe he's like only in her dreams, and he comes to her and is trying to solve some sort of murder.
That's interesting. I don't know. I like the beginnings of this, and Collin, just push your way in if you've got an idea, because there's a lot of us talking. I feel like we need to strike a balance between, we've got Inception, we got Freddy Krueger. There's all these like ideas that I feel like we're trying to place ourselves in the middle.
And I don't want a world building episode on our hands. I want a honest to God StoryFellas episode.
Yep.
Weird.
So we can't build this world too long. I feel like there is, okay, I'm gonna spit something out and we can decide if we like it. Like he's like an actual real detective who keeps finding people and they're like dead in their beds. I don't know what that looks like. They're like blood pouring out their ears or something like that. And he's like, what is going on here? And then I feel like maybe we have some sort of guide or guru character that talks to him. He's like, hey, this is like a dream killer or something. He's like, that's not a real thing. He's like, hey, I can get you in. Like, I don't know who the guy is or like where to find it. So it's kind of like, we're kind of setting up an Inception. He's like, I'm going to send you into someone's dream, or like there's a hint of the next culprit, and you have until they wake up to solve this thing. And then we're in this like wacky dream world that keeps shifting, and he has to solve this murder or find the murderer before they wake up and they die. If he wakes up, I don't really know.
What if they're dead and the brain is still like firing signals, and so the guy can let them into his brain, the guy who just died's brain, but they figure out there's like a time limit before it stops.
Oh, we've got some source code stuff juicing in here now. I love it.
You're right. Dang.
I actually like that, because that gives like, I like the detective and like a more scientist guy. Like they show up at the scene, and then maybe we pivot. Collin, I don't know how much you've listened, but we are not married to the prompts by any way. They are jumping off points. Cool. I don't know if it makes sense to make the murderer like kill people through dreams as much as it's like there's a real physical murderer that's attacking, like serial killer in the city, and they are like jumping into dreams to try to get clues on who this guy is. Yeah,
and what we call dreams are really just the last thoughts of somebody before they died. So they go into the brain, and it's very dream-like kind of thing. And so I imagine, there's like at the morgue, a scientist. And I like the idea that it's low-key, like this guy has just developed this kind of thing, maybe at a university or whatever. And he's like, the body has to be fresh, yada yada, lays down the rules basically, and then he sits the detective down in the chair, and I don't know how he connects them. I imagine he'd have to do something electrical or something, you know what I mean, like some sort of helmet.
See, that's the weird thing. They have to hug. He has to hug the corpse.
Also, the easy way around this is just to shoot somebody in the head, and there's no brain left.
What if it's the killer that they have to go into? So they find out that the brain, it just echoes something like that's most important to you or something like that, some key critical piece of information, and they're trying to find
the last victim,
like essentially they're just trying to put all the pieces together, but they don't make any sense. And so the guy,
that's pretty cool,
who's built on like traditional, like this whole science thing is really stupid, you know what I mean? This is like really cool technology, but I prefer to do it the old way, he finally becomes
questions
like enthusiastic and like I don't know, for it, I guess, by the end of the movie. I'm trying to think of his backstory. Like, what's he up to?
Oh, the detective?
Kind of like philosophical conflict do we need to build there?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it comes down to the bad guy. You know, and you don't want to engineer something that has like low stakes. That's why I immediately went for having the last victim be hidden, or like there's a time limit. They have to get her or find him or whoever the victim is, a child or something, and they're squirreled away. But maybe the detective shot the killer, you know, in the chest, obviously, and he died like laughing, knowing that he was gonna get the last laugh or whatever, and that he had one more victim, and even said that, you know, to him, and so then desperately somehow he's like patched in with this, I guess, university professor or whatever that has this technology. They get the victim, or they get the killer, and they put him on the slab, and they're like, okay, let's go in. And they shrink down super far. They go into the quantum realm.
Matt Damon shows up,
and then Matt Damon comes out of his head,
like a worm.
Everyone needs to navigate through a world where everyone is Matt Damon.
Yeah, everyone looks like Matt Damon, and somebody's the killer, but he doesn't know who.
He looks like Matt Damon.
I swear, he looked just like Matt Damon.
Yeah, we're all Matt Damon.
I swear it was Matt Damon. No, I like that. I think he doesn't physically shrink down. I think it's more like a mental game. But
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is as a detective film.
Right.
Meets Seven. That's what we're thinking.
Damon.
Yeah.
Damon. So where we're starting right now is that we open up with like him in pursuit of this serial killer or something like that, and he like the killer draws a weapon and the detective draws his, and he shoots the killer first. Killer says, he's like, there's some dialogue that reveals, oh, he's a serial killer and he's killed lots of people. It's like, where's the last person? And he's like, oh, I won't tell, something like that. He dies, and then he calls up. This is kind of a fast moving plot, but I think it could work. That we establish, we're like, hey, we're gonna need to go deeper into this guy. Maybe there's some dialogue. The detective's like, oh, I hate doing this. Like, I honestly, like you said, like, I like the old school way. They're like, yeah, but how are you going to find the last victim? Like, what if they're trapped somewhere? Because I feel like the direction this is going is like exploring, this guy's going into a killer's subconscious, and that's a very dangerous place to go. And it's very interesting.
There is a Jennifer Lopez movie with this exact plot.
Is it really? How do you know?
I don't know. I mean, I don't have a good answer. Like, what is it called? The Cell.
So going into a...
Yeah, FBI agent persuades a social worker who's adept with a new experimental technology to enter the mind of a comatose serial killer in order to learn where he has hidden his latest kidnapped victim.
Oh, man, this is the thing. What if we pivot it and we do make this a comedy? Same plot, but a comedy.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I want to avoid that because that's like obviously the exact plot of The Cell.
Yes, we can pivot. We can make a major pivot one way or the other. Here, I thought we were being original.
I'm trying to pivot it.
Because if we so we have our detective. I feel like we just need to go buck wild. We have to change something drastically.
Yeah, I think detective and dreams, that's a pretty good place to start. There's a lot going on there. Again,
what if people come see this doctor because they all have this condition where they can't sleep, and they haven't slept in, God knows how long. And eventually they need to send somebody in there to find out what's going on. And so they send this, old crotchety detective, again, who prefers the traditional way of doing things. He's like, maybe
he's not a real detective. Yeah. I mean, he's just serving the role of detective. He's just a scientist
who applied to be a detective, and they just hired him nowhere.
Too much backstory. But no, he's playing the role of detective, right? Like he's just like going, I'm a scientist, I'm a doctor, I'm just looking for some sort of cause here, and then he ends up being like a dream detective, but not on purpose, right?
Right. So he has to go into the mines and find out, and it's like something that doesn't fit in the real world, like some guy running around in a mascot costume. But he's like working at the grocery store. It's like, this doesn't work. You know what I mean? But in every person's mind, there's like one thing that's just like out of whack. and he's got to go find that thing. He's like, what the freak am I looking at? Like, this is so ridiculous.
Yeah, what if we went a little supernatural with it? Like, I like that it's kind of almost spooky if like he keeps going and it's just all wacky dreams. It's like, oh, I forgot my pants at the big test. Like, oh, it's all like the classic weird dreams, but there's always like this like disturbing figure like in the back of the classroom or like somewhere, and then he's like, all these patients have something in common. Like there's something like invading their minds like in their dreams, and then he finds one that is like a super severe case, and maybe he has to like he gets trapped in that dream and has to confront or deal with this creature or being or something like that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I like a scary dream monster, a Donnie Darko rabbit, you know?
Yeah, I think we start out with he's a dream therapist. And so people with persistent dreams, persistent negative, right? Like nightmares, night terrors, that type of thing. And, you know, he works with them. And he even has a way maybe of putting on a helmet of some kind, like a VR set, and he can go into their dream and actually like talk to people and help them unwind and undo whatever trauma or whatever you want to call it, that is plaguing them. And it works for normal people. But in his doing of this, he actually does stumble upon like a non-dream person. So like in dreams, it's like NPCs. He's walking around as like a video game. So they can't really do anything other than what they're already doing. But then he sees like there's another person in this dream. That's really scary. That
is scary. I also like the idea that maybe he does. Well, I don't know. I feel like it might limit the plot if the other characters in the dream don't notice him, because that would be scary if one thing did notice him. Like that when no one else, he's like a ghost in this world, but one thing does catch.
That's right. Yes, that's perfect. Yeah,
it's like Sixth Sense, but not entirely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's dead the whole time. However, no one really notices him, but the whole movie, you're like, the end gets revealed and you're like, wait a second, there's no way. But instead, you know that, okay, no one's going to notice this person, right?
Yeah.
And he has someone like directly interact with him or directly try to kill him or whatever it is, put him in danger. That'd be kind of crazy. I think we got to get away from like the mall scenario in Inception, though. That's like a clear Inception thing where his wife's down there. She's gonna try.
Oh,
to,
sure.
Yeah, I don't want to necessarily make
fair.
the thing related to him or like someone from his past that direction.
That would be good thematically, though.
I know it's good thematically, but it's just too close to Inception. I feel like we need to.
If we just that's fair, I guess. If we're flipping it on it, like trying to find the comedy in it.
Yes.
Trying to find the comedy in it. So, like, what does he end up? Is he? I mean, you can go a little.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
Tommy's got something.
What if we did? Yeah, like I'm trying to think of the flavor of this, and it feels like something kind of like it's something in that Hot Fuzz-esque tone, like that, like Hector and the Search for Happiness, where it's this like one scientist and he's like, I hate my job. Like he like goes into these dreams, and we like start with this montage of like just the most absurd dreams, or like it's like he like comes out and he's like, they're like, what was he dreaming about? He's like, just a bunch of hot girls again. Like it's like all these dudes, that's all they dream about. And he just doesn't like his job, to kind of like alleviate, make the tone lighter. And then he feels like this isn't meaningful. Like maybe that's his thing. That's his arc. He's like, I'm going in there like, and like kind of talking to people, but it doesn't feel like I'm moving the needle or doing anything. And then someone like super traumatic comes in, and then he goes in and it's like an actual scary situation. I don't know.
It's supposed to be funny. I don't know if we can make it that scary. I was thinking the best way to go would be romantic comedy at that point, that there's a woman that he keeps seeing in these dreams and he doesn't know who she is, like, which means that she's probably, you can even have this, it's a good line in the trailer and the segment that we do at the end called Along the Lines, where it's like nobody sees faces in their dreams that aren't in real life, which is true. Like there is no face that you see in your dream that is made up by you. It's always somebody who actually exists. I don't know how anybody proved that, but I've just heard that on like dream forums and stuff. Not that I'm out here reading those, but that your brain, in terms of what, like how it creates a human face, It's only ever pulling from reality. And so it's like he gets that told to him, obviously. And he knows this too, where it's like, I know this woman is real and she's in all of their dreams and she comes and like interacts with me, but I don't know who she is. So there's the mystery, is like, he's going to try and find her in real life. And then maybe eventually he does find her and she comes in for therapy, the dream therapy thing. And so then he scans her or whatever.
I like that. I think, well, we're kind of pivoting hard from the serial killer at all, but I'm kind of fine with that because I think that's, it's interesting if he keeps seeing this girl and maybe he has like more interactions, like he kind of has a crush in a sense, like he's in there so to kind of do therapy with whatever, and he's like, yeah, whatever, and he sees her and he goes and he's like, hey, because he notices that she notices him a little bit. And I think is interesting if in real life she shows up and she has no idea who he is, but he's like feels like he knows her for some reason.
Yeah,
that's kind of weird.
She's like, I'm here because you're in my dreams.
Oh man, we're dancing around some dream scenario stuff too now.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. All of his patients though had seen her, not him.
I guess, yeah.
So he has to inquire to them, like, "Hey, did you notice?" No.
Or we shrink it down, and it's just one patient or two patients, maybe just one that he keeps interacting with, and it's like a crotchety old man or something, and maybe he keeps like, "I'm going to help you with your dream therapy." Let's call him a dream sweeper. Okay. He's just there to sweep dreams, whatever that means, help you get to sleep, you know? And he's like there, like giving your dreams therapy. So he's like there to defend you or whatever. And most of the time it's really boring stuff, but then this girl keeps popping up. And she's a free agent. She moves around, she does her own thing. And so he goes off and he has a whole entire dream, like fun with her in other people's heads. I think that's really funny. And you could have a sad turn at the end where it's like the crotchety old man was like, yeah, that was my daughter.
Why is that a sad turn?
Well, because she's dead.
Oh, yeah, you didn't say that part.
Yeah, I was letting you walk into it.
I know. I was waiting for you to say it.
Or, oh man, what was it? I had something there about that. But I want to find a good comedy engine here. Somebody who takes himself really seriously is funny to make fun of. Somebody who's like pathetic in some way is funny. So I imagine if our guy is like Paul Giamatti, a classic actor that we cast in a lot of things here on StoryFellas. So, you know, he's like older and still unmarried kind of thing. I don't know. Man, there's some dark stuff I just thought of, but I don't know.
Boy. Every time you say that, I'm always like, hold on.
Well, he's like, it's not illegal if it's in a dream. No, I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, we will maybe not pursue that.
I like the idea because we have such silly dreams. You know, we have like really stupid fears sometimes, and it's people who can't sleep, but like the therapist he coaches them on how to deal with the thing or to do the thing that they're afraid of. So it's like the pants. There's no pants. He's like, you have to go down there with no pants. You just have to do it.
Yeah.
Do it. But he like coaches them, and he's the only.
Oh,
the dreamer can only see him, and so he has to guide them through like a speech, you know, and these crazy scenarios just to get them on the other end of that fear, so they can finally sleep.
I really like that. He's like, I'll join you, and he like takes his pants off, like he's like, we'll do the speech together, and like I like that. Like that's kind of the core. Like maybe he does like his job. He's just like. Really, like you said, he takes it seriously. He's like really about it.
He's too serious. He doesn't have a social life, basically.
Yeah, he just lives in these dreams, basically, which is kind of a theme we're kind of heading towards. Because then I like him having a couple different instances. Like maybe it's like a small town. Because like if this woman is a barista or something, it's not out of the norm that she would be seen by a lot of people. You know, like if it was like a small area, small town. And I think it's interesting if he starts like entertaining this thing of like, he just keeps noticing her and like she's kind of noticing him. Like you said, maybe goes on some adventure. It is like a romantic comedy thing. And then he starts dreaming about her, like just apart from these people. And then I think we have him run into her at some point, or she comes, like you said, to the
that would be a good midpoint shift. So if it's a romantic comedy, we have our dream sweeper. He goes in. It's a little like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. except it's not about memory necessarily. It's about dreams, which I think is definitely different. But he comes in and people, again, he's a dream therapist. So he goes into your dreams and he's your ally. He's your support. He goes in and he helps you. And yeah, it's really boring to him. You know, he might be fighting in World War I in a dream, you know, or whatever it is. Like reoccurring dreams is basically what he tries to get you out of. Like reoccurring dreams are a rut where you have, you know, your brain is trying to subconsciously work through something that it, you know, you're not allowing it to. So I go in there deep and I help you like massage it out. And maybe it's like just rich clients who deal with it. I can't imagine it being super cheap. But I think that's interesting, where, yeah, we can, the reoccurring dream thing.
I think
it's almost Groundhog Day.
Yeah. I feel like this could easily have a flavor of Everything Everywhere All at Once because of the dream nature of it. But because I imagine like in the trailer, it's this like World War II scene and this guy's like shot in the arm and he's like, I don't think I'm going to make it. And then like Paul Giamatti just in normal, like civilian clothes with a big musket. They're just like, he's like, Dr. I don't know, Dr. Decker? And he's like, this isn't the first World War II dream I've had. And just like is shooting people for him. It's like, It just opens up the world that you could have like any ridiculous scene with Paul Giamatti in it and it would work because of the nature of the movie. And then, so then you have him running through all of these fantastical, ridiculous scenarios, in pursuit of this woman that he's seeing in people's dreams, which sounds kind of fun. Or
because I feel like the woman thing's actually what's getting us kind of caught up here, trying to make it work.
Yeah.
That he's like addicted to people's dreams. Real life is boring to him.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I imagine it's like a hot Paul Giamatti in the dreams because he can imagine himself however he wants. And then it like cuts back to him and it's like, and he's like fat and like everything's cold, you know, and he's just like in the mirror looking at his belly and he's just like, what the? But I like that. Like the idea behind the real and the unreal, obviously, and like the ideal even, that he can't deal with reality basically. So he lives in people's dreams. And you know, he's a dream masseuse essentially. He just massages the weird points out. And a lot of times it's really easy, but that way he's just living in his own thing. And maybe he's like, I suffer from insomnia, you know, like he himself like can't get to sleep, but life is boring to him.
What if he helps everybody so that no one needs to come in anymore? And he's lost his purpose because he's lost the sense of adventure. You know what I mean? Like he's so good at what he does that he doesn't have any more clients.
I feel like he would just make up clients at that point. He's an addict. You have to think of him like that. You know, he's like a total drug addict. He
goes over to people's houses at night.
Yeah. And like sneaks in.
Yeah.
But like does it on his family, you know, and he's like, I even did it on the family dog once. And let me tell you, that dream. I don't know. Yeah.
I like that I feel like, let's give this guy, we're a little,
you said Decker.
But
Dr. Decker.
I said Dr. Decker, I think is his name.
Last name Decker, first name Decker?
Last name Decker.
Okay.
Dr.
Let's go with
Joe Decker.
Joel.
That's the flavor. Dr. Joel Decker by Paul Giamatti. Does he have like a family? What is his personal life? I think I feel like we struck the vein of like, oh, this is the route we want to go.
Oh
like,
yeah, absolutely. Cool. I think him addicted to dreams because then you could have the crazy scenarios and you're actually making a good commentary about real life versus online life. And with it being about dreams, right? And so you get to explore that and explore the kind of, you know, you're in the Matrix and then you come out of the Matrix. And you're just like a loser still. And so I don't know. I love that. And I think trying to think about like how he would actually do it, whether he's got a lot of equipment, like the physical actual process of it. Cause I do love the idea that he did it on a dog once. It just sounds fun.
Yeah. I kind of want to get away from, I feel like naturally I go towards like these like tubes and IVs, but because that's like Inception, that's very Inception-y. We could go like
an MRI machine, you know, just like puts them in the machine, and
that's a big device though. Like like you can't bring that home.
That's true. I mean, or maybe it's a pair of like headphones, kind of a
that's
headphone
kinda cool.
type thing. And so it like plays a sound wave and it makes them on the same, or however that works. We can say sound is the reason that it works, basically.
That's cool.
The dream wavelength, basically. And you have, they wear something and he wears something. And so then he just is kind of vibing out and leans back.
He's smoking.
Yeah, he just falls asleep with a cigarette in his hand. And in the dream, it's like hands on fire.
He's either unmarried or very unhappily married.
I think he's unmarried for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see him having a very below average relationship with his wife, though. Like he comes home and talks about it, but he's distant with her. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So
That's true. I do like that as well.
Actually, something funny with that would be like, he's like talking to a therapist, I guess, and he's like, I did it on my wife, like without her knowing. Like I put the headphones on her, I put the device on her, I put it on me. That woman doesn't dream. She has no dreams. There's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
There's nothing for me.
Yeah.
And so the idea that he's like a thrill seeker kind of guy, and could maybe land himself into some real trouble.
In his day to day, I kind of picture him as the holdovers Paul Giamatti, like kind of curmudgeon-y, like, but then like with this addictive, like, oh, I want to go into dreams and like go wild and like do crazy stuff in the dreams. Mm-hmm. And just like him ripped with like a machine gun, just like, yes, this is what I should.
Yeah.
Wait, is the procedure a total lie?
Is what?
So what if it doesn't actually do anything, but it's like a, what do you call it? Like a placebo effect. And people like seem to feel better, but like the whole thing is just
he's just monkeying around in there. Like he's not doing anything to help them.
So what is he doing?
He pitches it as if, you have these symptoms or whatever, like come to my whatever and I'll, fix your problem. And it turns out that none of it is legit. It's just him trying to thrill seek the whole time. I don't know.
I like that. I think he starts this business trying to help people. And maybe this is something he tells his therapist or something. He's like, I sincerely was trying to help people. And then there were a few times where I didn't get it right, and I came out of the dream, and they were thrilled. They were like, oh, whatever you did fixed me. Yeah. And I just started like, I don't know, having more and more like
started goofing,
not really like just goofing around more. And some reason it seems like they think it helps them, and I'm just having fun. Like I think like he had good intentions at the beginning, and now people come and pay him, and he just like gets in the dream and goes and does whatever he wants in the dream world. And
that's interesting. I think it's more of a distracting subplot, because basically you would want it to work, because that's at the end it would have to pay off in some way. Like for it to just secretly not work the whole time, I don't know if that would actually pay off. Like it works the same way basically. Like if he's in there having fun, it might as well work. Like then that way, if it comes back to bite him in the butt, because he's been mucking around in the dreams, like somebody sues him for something he did in a dream. I think that's actually interesting. We open up on like a court case, and that's the whole framing, kind of like The Social Network, where it's like he's kinda being like sued.
Joker 2. Like Joker.
Yeah, just like Joker 2.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I like that where it's like because that sounds like such a trailer line. It's like I'm being sued for something I did in a dream. I think that sounds like.
But then the other guy, he's like, but it was literally you who did it. It's like, I didn't dream of you. You were in the dream. Yeah.
You had sex with my wife in my dream. That's actually really funny.
Gosh. It's a
good trailer line though. Damn.
That is a really good trailer line. I think that's probably.
He's just like, Your Honor, I did not know that was his wife. He's my client. I've only ever met him. I didn't know I thought she was just some random person.
Yeah, that is funny. That is funny. So he's on trial, and not like, he's not going to go to jail, obviously, but it's just for money, to get the fees back or whatever. And it's like, but he fixed the guy's problem. Right, like the guy can sleep now, so he's like, I put to bed the problem. I put the problem to bed. I'm a good doctor. It's like
I'm a good doctor. I'm the best. I'm the best at what I do.
Yeah, and what I do ain't pretty.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, I think that's really funny. That's a really that, because that gives it like a layer of seriousness that can be played with at that point, where like he's being beholden for something ridiculous, like he's like real stakes for something ridiculous, and he feels like he's the only sane one. And of course he's a lonely guy, so he doesn't like, that makes sense that he would do that with someone's wife in a dream, right? And that would get him into hot water or whatever, but he's still able to do his practice in the meantime. And we can get like, his arc is romance. I think he eventually does find a real life woman that he likes.
I think we could still explore, like, I don't think we have to write off that he keeps running into this, like, I don't know, this woman in dreams that he keeps seeing in other people's dreams. Except like she's hard to get. Like he's like, usually I can do whatever I want in dreams, but like she's very like, I don't know, I can't ever catch up to her or whatever. And then he meets her in real life, or she comes in for the therapy.
I think she's either, to further complicate things, which is good drama, she's either the prosecuting attorney. So she's like, you know, defending the guy who's suing him. You know, she's the one who's suing him basically. So he finds that out. Or she's like the judge. And he's just like, he's gotta navigate that, you know, where he keeps seeing the judge.
Would he get opportunities to just hang out with her then? Like, I feel like we kind of need to create situations for them to hang out in real life. For this,
I think she would probably come to him secretly if she was the judge or the lawyer. We can make a decision now. I think the lawyer probably makes more sense. But she comes to him and is like, I can't stop dreaming about my ex-husband. Like, can you help me? And he goes into her dreams, and her dreams are like unlike anything he's ever been a part of. But I think really it's not, romance isn't his dream, isn't his arc. His arc is actually being okay with reality. So this idea that like, oh, women in dreams, it's not messy at all. I don't need to like be, you know, they're not even real. Like they're just completely made up, and I can just throw them away. They go away as soon as I wake up. Like that's such a clean deal for me. As opposed to, oh man, I got so many ideas about this. Like
but
go ahead.
I was just going to say, but it's also like, if that's the argument he's making with his therapist, I imagine a lot of this is verbalized to a therapist, and that's how the audience hears it. He's also at the same time fooling himself, because he's like that idea of like, oh, it's just clean and there's no like, but then he wakes up and like when he's alone at his house, if he is alone, he's lonely. Like he's fooling himself and thinking like, oh, this is the better way, but then it's like a cheaper way and like not as fulfilling.
I agreed. I'm trying to think back from an ending. I think either an ending is that he dreams himself, so he hasn't had dreams in years. There's something about like being a part of the therapy for so long that has kind of zapped his brain, doesn't produce dreams anymore. And so either he like goes to sleep, doesn't have, maybe he has insomnia or whatever, but the idea of like seeing him then dream, and I don't know, you want to break him out of it, because it is like the Matrix. I said that earlier, but it does feel like very akin to that. But it's like a kind of a humorous stab at like being addicted to the internet, or like, you know, online gaming or something, where it's like you have this persona that is perfect, and then you come back to reality, and reality is completely disappointing. So how do you break that? And so I think he has to at some point be like court ordered not to do the therapy anymore. And so then he has to deal with reality at that point.
It's just doing it on dogs and cats and fish.
Maybe, literally, just like to keep it going. And he's just like doing it with the dog or the cat or whatever. But then there's like a woman that comes into his life, and it's about addiction. And so he's still trying to make it work. And maybe he even convinces this woman to do it. And at the end, like chooses not to, you know?
Yeah. Maybe he doesn't see the woman in the dreams. It's just a real woman that comes into his life. Yeah. And he has to like learn how to.
Yeah. I do think there's like a bigger supporting cast that needs to be beefed out. So we have Dr. Decker. We have the guy who sues him. Doesn't even really need a name, Bill, whatever. You know, and he, you know, Mr. Johnson or whatever is suing him. And then I do think he needs like a family relationship that can kind of like a brother or something, that like a more successful brother, or brother who has like a family, and he goes and he's the loser, right? But he goes to like Thanksgiving dinner, and maybe there's, you know, somebody he hasn't seen, like some childhood friend of his that is able to show up, or a childhood friend of his sister-in-law's or something like that. Like a woman that shows up and they hit it off. And
if you lean really hard into the addict part of this, like I imagine a scene that is really funny where he's like at a Thanksgiving when there's like a distant friend of a friend, and he's like, oh, it's nice to meet you. He's like, hey, do you want to see something cool? And then the brother like opens the door, and they're like laying down with the headphones on. He's like, Joel, like shaking him awake.
I like that with Thanksgiving as well, because the tryptophan thing with turkey, that it makes you sleepy.
Yeah.
So he's like, maybe there's an old lady. He's so so
have
desperate.
Some more turkey.
Yes.
Have
He's
some
like,
more turkey.
there's like grandpa or whatever who has dementia, and he's just like, come on, man, eat up. And then, and then grandpa just like passes out, and he goes into like a World War II dream. You know, and he's just like, the guy's got dementia too, so it's like really crazy. They maybe
lawsuit, like, so his practice is now like
shut down,
non-existent, right? He can't legally do it, so now he's trying to convince his family to do it.
Yeah, basically, and other people, like and maybe he's like going to homeless shelters and stuff. Like, you know, I do think that's really funny, actually. A guy who's addicted to being in other people's dreams because reality sucks so much.
I think,
but the idea of like making an old lady like eat a bunch of turkey, and he's just like being really nice to her, you know, like, come on, oh Mima, it's okay, Mima, yeah, oh yeah, you need more turkey, oh okay, oh yeah. That's just, there's some really good like facial expressions, you know, you'd get from Paul Giamatti because of that, but I just want an ending with him where it's like he doesn't get the girl, but he learns the lesson, basically.
I feel like he can maybe even get the girl, but it's like it's not like a big, like, oh, passionate, whatever. Like, I think that's the thing, is like he finds like a relationship that's a lower key. If it's Paul Giamatti, they're not young in their 20s or anything like that. He's probably going to find someone, and like him finding this like kind of more calm, like slow burn kind of love is like what he's like, oh, I'm okay with this. Like, where would they, like, it's, even if we just hint at the beginning of a relationship, like it's like him and whoever this woman is, like, get coffee, and she puts like a hand on his hand or something, and you kind of can tell that he's content. But then like the journey to get there.
Man, I can hear such a good monologue from him where he's talking about like, I just want to wake up next to someone. You know, like my whole life, you know, that's why I hate waking up, because I wake up alone all the time.
It's a good line.
That's so real.
Writing that down.
Write that down, man. Write that down. And so, because that's why he's like, I don't want to wake up. You know.
And meanwhile, she's trying to convince him to stay in reality. Because every time he like gets his hit, if you guys have seen Beautiful Boy, like it just train wrecks his life. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know.
I haven't seen it, but I know
kind of hit. But like, yeah, he's doing great. He's here. He's present. He's like whatever. And then he falls, right? And it just goes so downhill at that point. So,
okay. Bearing with me here.
Yeah.
Either two things introducing, because I follow the Shakespearean rule of conflict that the characters have to be as close as possible for the conflict to be really, really high. So related is like the biggest one. But the prosecuting attorney, the case is done. He's been stripped of his thing because he misused it as a doctor. So he can't legally do it anymore. But that's the woman that shows up at Thanksgiving. Or shows up in somebody's life, like, you know, a friend of his or whatever. And it's like, oh, well, you know, or maybe he gets set up on a blind date with her. I
actually like that. It's like past the legal stuff, like maybe long past that. And then he's trying his best to adjust. He does these little stunts where people are like, shame on you. Don't trick grandma into eating all the turkey or whatever. And then he's like, his friends are like, you should come out. We're getting together with some people. If we might need to make him a younger Paul Giamatti, you know, like he's at his age, like he might need to be more in his like 40s or something.
This is StoryFellas world, man. We can make him however we want, you know.
But something yes man-esque where it's like you're never saying yes. You're not actually trying to live real life, and they invite, and it's like a party or something, or like for like a house, like an adult house party, like wine and stuff. And he's like rolling his eyes, and then he sees the attorney there, and they kind of make small talk. I like that a lot because like she was his antagonist in a sense, and then they start kind of blossoming.
Totally,
in this
they go
little
from
thing.
enemies to friends and back to enemies, because back to enemies would be that she has the power and the know-how and the context to really end him. Like if he was to fall off the wagon, basically. Like he's, she even says like, if you do this again, this is heavily regulated gear. So if you use this on anyone, and they can say that to him, the judge can say it to him, like you will go to prison. And so I like the idea. Actually, that's probably the ending, is that he actually faces the music and goes to prison for doing it. But then the girl comes to visit him. The woman comes to visit him. And so he can't do it anymore. So it like breaks him of his addiction. Right. And so he ends up like, he's like, I wish this was a dream. He's in prison. I wouldn't want to use it on any of the guys here. Let's put it that way.
I feel like this is not the first time Zach has pitched a StoryFellas ending where the guy goes to prison and the woman visits him.
That's true. That's true. It's just really sweet.
It is very sweet.
Or maybe not. Maybe he doesn't. Like maybe it's just about him facing the music, and that's basically turns himself in. He just walks into the police station. And he's like, I have sinned.
No, I feel like I don't know. I feel like he could
Cuff me.
I don't mind if he goes to prison, but I also feel like I feel like it's really like if we just took this story and I made it like an addict story, like he was like if we told this whole story with drugs and him meeting this girl and him trying to make it work with this girl, but he's addicted to drugs. We just happen to replace it with like diving into people's dreams. Like we play it very real. This is just a weird thing that he's addicted to, but he's trying to make it work. He's trying to, because I feel like if he can overcome, or he comes to like has a come to Jesus moment in some form or fashion, maybe he does have to go to jail, and that's like the wake up moment. Or maybe it's before then.
That. Yeah, I have an idea about that. Basically, that, and this is dark. But I think it works. Yeah, I got to let you know, Tommy. Tommy's going to cut this out. Maybe he doesn't. If you're hearing it, know that he didn't cut it out. The old woman that he does the dream thing on at Thanksgiving actually ends up dying.
In the process?
In the process, like dies in her sleep. And so that's the whole catalyst there. That's how he gets found out for doing it. That's how he gets arrested. It's like this whole bigger thing. It's a sad, hard line to hit. It's really funny leading up to it though. And I think I really like that left turn though. It definitely comes out of nowhere and gut punches you. Especially if we've already set it up where it's like, I just don't want to be alone. I never want to wake up alone. And maybe he literally like wakes up and he's like, he goes to sleep because he's asleep too, I guess, in some capacity. But he wakes up and he's like handcuffed to a hospital bed. They brought him to the hospital. And he just like, oh, what happened? And then that's the whole thing. It's like the dream basically collapses on him.
Yeah. I don't dislike it. I want to hear Colin's thoughts because it is a rock bottom moment that I think it could be necessary to make him go through to like get to the other side. But Colin, what are your thoughts?
I think him and the girl, they need to have some kind of like, there's hope in this relationship. And then they need to have some sort of falling out where it's like, okay, he is used to adventure. He's used to getting everything that he wants, right? You can use pornography probably as like
that's really, I think that's definitely what we're talking about. Yeah.
So he's getting everything that he wants, right? And then he meets this real girl who is just normal, right? And, has, as like all of us, who has real things about her and isn't going to, take crap and isn't going to say yes to everything. And maybe like they get in an argument. That's their first interaction, like where they argue. And it's like, I never want to see this person ever again. You know what I mean? And then that contrast brings it to like, oh, wow, they're starting to get closer and closer and closer. He's getting better and better and better. And then there's like a falling out. I think that's just like really great contrast to lead to the end in the prison. I don't think it has to do with family and the judge and all that stuff, but like, I don't know, talking about character.
No, I think it's a classic romantic comedy thing where they get together. You have to break them up. The climax is them coming back together or breaking up, and then you kind of imply that they get back together, or they never get back together. I think 500 Days of Summer is like that, where it ends on the down note kind of thing. But he learned the lesson. Like he lost the girl, but he learned the lesson. And And yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly where this should go. I think the Thanksgiving dinner is actually the climax of the thing, and he somehow, makes that happen in secret.
I think he is doing better, and then there's the falling out and like a break, like whether it's a breakup or a fight or whatever, and like he invites the girl to Thanksgiving dinner. He's like, hey, they're doing this big dinner, you should come with me. And then there's the big falling out, and then he's super down about it, and that's why he does the grandma turkey trick.
They've gone on dates. Right. And maybe even he's hyper fixated on things he doesn't like about her. Like maybe she's got a mole, maybe her teeth are discolored in some way. Like, and that's something that she even confronts him on. It's like, and the idea is like living with reality is actually the greatest way to actually start loving reality, and loving the real. It's like, this is what makes me real, is that I have cellulite on my legs. I've got a mole right here that I've tried to get removed like 6 times, or whatever. And she's just, going down the line of like, I'm not a perfect woman. That's a nice Oscar Beatty role, in my opinion. Nice Oscar Beatty speech too, because it's this idea that women need to keep up this appearance. And she's basically saying like, I'm okay with what I am, which is a real woman. She's like fully gray. I think that's interesting. And she's like, hey, my husband died. And we can kind of play with that as a subplot for her. But like, I think she meets him during the court case, obviously. But then they bump into each other at like a friend's dinner. They don't like each other when they first meet each other, and they go their separate ways. Or maybe at the end of the night, she gives him her number. So even though they kind of fought, maybe they were playing Scrabble or something like that. And there's like tension between them. And then finally, and he thinks it's like, man, this woman is just like mean to me, doesn't want anything to do with me, whatever. And then she like gives him her number.
Trust, yeah.
And so she's like willing to take a chance on him, and then they go out on a date. When things start to go really good, and this whole time he's actually like, he has been doing dreams on dogs and maybe even like a homeless person, but as soon as he starts like really falling for this woman, he gives that stuff to his brother, and that's where Thanksgiving is at. Like he gives the gear to his brother, and so there's this final temptation. It's like if he could get through the Thanksgiving thing, he's like, this is, for whatever reason, he keeps it. And his brother's like, maybe forgot to throw it away or whatever, or thought to destroy it. Maybe he gave it to him. He's like, I can't destroy this. I need you to do it for me. And the guy's like, yeah, sure. And he like, maybe
it's just in the garage or something like that. He finds it when he takes the trash out. He takes the trash out and he sees that it's on a shelf in the garage.
Yes. And then he like looks back inside and he sees like the grandma sleeping in the back room or whatever. That's dark and interesting. And we can set up the idea that the sessions like in the dream space last like days that he lives in there, but it's really only like 5 minutes. And
is it his grandma? Is it her grandma?
It's his grandma. I think it makes more sense.
I want to make it clear also to our audience that he's not like doing things to that. He's just using the host as an avenue to like have his own dream adventures.
Thank you. We kept saying doing it to the dog.
Yeah. Okay. You're right.
I just want to make it clear.
He's a sick man.
They're just like a conduit. Like he might not even interact with the grandma. He's just going off doing stuff in unscripted dream space, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but reality starts to be interesting to him when this woman who he doesn't, know anything about, basically, like she's unpredictable to him in a lot of ways. She breaks a lot of people around him are very predictable and boring. And so this woman comes in and she's really interesting. She's got like long braided gray hair. She's like I just imagine that she has like a kind of like she lived out in Wyoming for a long time, had horses. She has that kind of fiery farm girl attitude, but then her husband died. And so she just went back to work as a lawyer, Anyway, that's interesting. And so then for it to end on that, and it ends with him handcuffed to the bed. That's not the ending of the movie, but like their relationship, like she comes in and is like really disappointed with him, doesn't say anything, and so yeah, he ends up like going before the judge again, and they're like, you gotta pay the price, man. Yeah, I don't know.
I feel I don't mind any of that, but I do want some like glimmer of hope of like whether it's a relationship, whether like we see it. Like I don't want it to end on the note of him just like jail cell sad and then cut to black. Like no, I'd like to have some sort of...
Yeah, we're going to... The epilogue, I think, is important here, that time goes by, and he starts writing her letters. And he's just like, I know you don't want to hear from me, but like I'm feeling much better now. And maybe just that isolation, that raw, like whatever it is about prison is really rehabilitating him. And at the end, the whole time in that sequence, it's like, hey, did I get any mail? Nope. Did I get any mail? Nope. And at the end, it's just like, yeah, you got a letter. And it's from her, and it opens up and he just reads the first line. That's the only thing we hear. And she just says, I had a dream about you.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
What if she doesn't dream anymore? Like
okay, yeah.
Not because of the device or whatever, just by natural causes. So they both don't dream. And it just happens that she doesn't. And then that would make that resolution like, oh, wow.
I think it'd be interesting because he's looking for a dreamer. And then if they just establish they both don't dream, that could be attracting to him. Or it could be at first like, oh, you don't dream? Like, I want someone who dreams. But then he grows past that. But I like what Colin's saying, like planting that early on, because that makes that line more impactful at the end. And also gives that glimmer of hope of, hey, maybe there is something here between us.
I got it. So when her husband died, she's like, when my husband died, I stopped dreaming. There was nothing there anymore. And I really didn't want to live anymore. And so she can kind of relate to him in that way, because he's been in that state, the kind of like, oh, there's no hope in life kind of thing. And so when she finally does write to him that I had a dream about you, it's a big deal. And it means like, hey, my brain has decided that you're the one for me. And we're not showing that they have like consummated their relationship, they're married or anything like that.
Yep.
He's literally doing time, probably like 6 years or something, or maybe
like
less.
The idea of hoping that once he gets out of prison, they ended up together.
Yeah,
but
of course.
Not answering that. I think that's fascinating. Secondly, have you guys seen The Big Sick?
The Big Sick. Yes. Yeah.
Big Sick. Yeah. So it's labeled as a comedy. However, it's some of the most dense drama like I've ever seen in a movie.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a second, this is a comedy, but all of that drama makes those jokes land so much better and sweeter and deeper. And so this is giving me like that kind of vibe, right? Hard to deal with topics, but like the silliness of the beginning, right? The just here and there, there's just these ridiculous things. I feel like they're going to pop because all the other moments are like, whoa, this is actually kind of serious.
Absolutely. It's the contrast that makes it really work.
Yeah, I think so too. But Tommy, have you seen it?
I've not seen The Big Sick, no.
Okay.
But I get the tone that you're talking about. Like I totally agree. Like having those like real moments and heavier moments makes those little moments of comedy really pop.
Again, that's what makes the comedy. That is that like you can have, it can't all be marshmallows in the Lucky Charms, you know? You got to have the dog food too.
That is what it is.
It really is.
You know, but it all comes together, right? It's all the experience, you know, because otherwise it would just be too sweet to just do like ridiculous over the top, almost like not Fall Guy. Real Guy. What was the one with Ryan Reynolds?
Free Guy.
Free Guy. Almost like that, where it's like it's so, and it had to abide by like the video game thing. By going dreams, you can do anything. And yeah, I like the idea that he's like dating women in these dreams. Like that's kind of the thing that he's doing, and he can be whatever he wants. And of course he's doing like high adventure fun stuff too, but it's mainly about his romantic hangups. And so finding a real woman that is actually interested in him, that basically forces him to like date her in real life and get over it.
It's a little bit of self-esteem movie as well. It's like Secret Life of Walter Mitty, where in these dreams he's very suave. He's a George Clooney-esque thing. He's like he's the cool surfer bro, and like he just is. He's like I don't have any of that in real life. I'm not a cool guy. I don't have anything to offer.
She can say like, I see that you're really intelligent. You're hardworking. And industrious. You have your own business. Like this isn't an easy thing to do. This is a heavily regulated area, and you've seemed to make it work, and you make your customers really happy. At least most of them, she says. Like not my client, obviously. So anyway, I think that is funny. That it's a good balance of funny and serious. So that seems to be the wrap up. Then we have the I dreamed of you letter at the end, and he kind of just goes about his day. In prison.
It's like a weird alt of dream scenario, but like definitely different enough. Like this is totally different than dream scenario. Even Paul Giamatti's character, our Joel Decker, is just a whole different personality. Like he's pathetic in a different way, like not a passive pathetic. He's kind of aggressively like.
Well, the addiction thing makes him an active protagonist, which is great. Things aren't really happening to him. He is like making them happen, and is like actively seeking to get a hit in different ways. I think the dog dream sequence is going to be really funny.
Just the shot, like just like a ceiling down shot of just this dog with headphones, like twitching, and then like him laying on the floor, like twitching as well. He's like, that was wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
he finds out why dogs kind of twitch and they're like running after something.
Yeah, exactly. And he's just like, there were no women in that dream. I just spent the whole dream running.
There were no women in that dream. He's like, don't get me wrong. Like, I liked it, but there were no women. There were no women.
Yeah.
Come on.
No, I think I really like this idea. I didn't think we could salvage it, to be honest. Like there was a minute there that we were pivoting so much that it was like, okay, are we going to just pivot our way out of being able to make it work? But no, I think it really works.
Oh no, that's the other lesson of StoryFellas, Collin, is that almost always, I don't think there's ever been a time we've not gotten to like some sort of plot.
That's fair. I think world building is the closest thing to like you don't feel like it resolves itself, but we have a category where, that's the point of the thing. Some ideas just take that much longer to develop. This, we got through the kind of lore aspect really quickly, where it's like, oh, he's a dream sweeper. He just visits dreams and helps iron things out for people. That's all you needed. We didn't need to go into any deeper whatever. And he just uses it to like fantasize about women, basically. Which is, it might be hard to film.
Well, originally, like, I think you can film just the dates. Originally, I didn't think we were just making it about women. I thought that was like an aspect that he wanted the high of like all the excitement. Like he's in war movies, he's surfing, he's doing this stuff. And like women, like dating, like impressing girls was like a part of that.
It is. I agree. Like it's all within the fantasy world of whatever that dream is. It's not just him like having sex with women basically the whole time. It's, I think that is an aspect of it. Like he is like saving them from things. He's focusing on them, you know, and like going out of his way to have
visually in the movie. I don't even think you have to show that aspect. Like you can show the meet cute where he's like, oh, hey there. Yeah. She's like, oh, my hero. And then like it implies where it heads to afterwards.
I think it's important though that they see him just as he is in real life. Like I'm thinking, how Tom Hardy's character in Inception straight up looks like the person that he wants to look like.
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti has to look like Paul Giamatti, just like this average guy.
But they love him.
The women, that's right. They love him. It's like everything about him is perfect.
Yeah.
And he has to deal with that in real life. That's hard.
Yeah, because it's a positive in the real world. It's like if he could just fix this thing about women. And maybe even in prison, this is actually a nice little subtle arc that we could throw in there too, is that he starts working out. Yeah. Like you just see him and he's just in there, and they're like, hey boss, you got a letter. And it's like, that was actually what was good for him, is to like be totally separated from the technology that was kind of killing him.
Yeah. I like there being some line where he talks maybe to the girl and he says, I used to date, but I just had a few years of bad luck and it was just way easier in the dreams. Like, and then eventually I just gave up.
Yeah. I like that a lot. Okay. So titles wise,
I've got a few in my head.
Yeah, me too.
Collin, I don't know if you have any.
I had a couple at the beginning when it was more detective-y.
Oh, okay.
Not anymore. Mine was Sleep Aid, but it doesn't work anymore. Just because,
No, I mean, I that would have worked for the detective thing. You're right. But yeah, we definitely are in weirder territory.
We definitely pivoted hardcore from detective, but we stayed in the dream world, which I think, again, that's the motivation. It's to get the ball rolling, so we got something to run with. Do you want to hear
titles? Go ahead.
Tell me. No, you go first.
Okay. First one is Dream Girl. I think that we could play with this idea that he has like conjured up a perfect woman in the dream or whatever, and he can even have a whole speech about this woman being perfect, and he only saw her once, but it's like from his childhood, this kind of like perfect idea of a woman that every other woman ruins in some way. The other one is Sleep With Me, because that's what he's doing.
That's true. That's
in
like
multiple ways. And I don't know.
There's a podcast called Sleep With Me that is just a guy rambling to help you fall asleep.
Oh,
but it's like the play on words is like the same thing. Like you're like going to sleep with this podcast playing.
Yeah.
I don't dislike that. The two in my head were, I think you said it, Dream Sweeper.
Oh yeah, just the title of what
Just the
he
title
does.
of what
Yeah.
he does. Also, it's simple, but in your dreams. Just because I could imagine, like that's like what it's only in his dreams that these things happen.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot in your dreams.
Or sleep aid.
Or sleep
The
aid.
idea of it just being like Decker.
Or Decker.
Just,
yeah, I mean,
just Decker.
Him. It really is about him. You know what
it
I mean?
is. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
or
true.
Joel or
It's
something.
also alliterative if we
Almost.
put dreams with Decker somehow, like Decker's dreams or something. I don't know if that's too on the nose.
I mean, it is a little on the nose. I don't mind it because like there's titles like Michael Clayton where it's he's like a fixer for a law firm or whatever, and it's just about his identity. This one isn't so much about Joel's identity as it is him like breaking his addiction of the sleep thing, the weird dream thing. But if you could combine them, I do think that would be really good. Waking up, something about waking up, because that's the whole idea is like reality isn't good enough.
Inside.
Wake me up inside. That song's gotta be in this movie. I do like that.
Daydream or something like that. You know what I mean?
Daydream works. Daydreamer, daydreaming. I think for titles, we want to go with something that is pretty concise, obviously something related to sleep. And the fact that we're hinting at there's a drug addiction side of this type technology that he's got. So maybe something like sleep disorder.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like sleep disorder.
Yeah.
I think it does the title justice. It does the whole symptom thing, like all the patients to justice as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It ties into him being a doctor, which is very satisfying as well.
And it doesn't have dream in the title, which I think is something that, with Dream Scenario, with the Nicolas Cage movie, we want to kind of avoid pulling in that same thing. And it's about him waking up. Like his real life issue is that he needs to wake up from the delusion, the dream that he's in. So he has his own disordered kind of sleep. So
Sleep disorder. His life is in disorder.
yes, he's got disordered loves.
Yeah.
I like it.
So yeah,
Well,
I am in.
Well, audience, we have told the story of sleep disorder. It took us a little bit at the beginning, but I really like the story, actually. I think it's very interesting. And
it actually feels like something that Collin, like, I don't know, our friendship, the way I've described it is dark and stormy, the drink. That Collin is a moody guy. Like he likes serious things. He talked about Drive at the beginning, something like those are heavy movies that you mentioned. And they're not comedies. But this feels like it has enough weight to it in terms of the drama to satisfy the taste that you might be bringing to it. This might be a movie that you yourself would see. I don't know.
My thirst has been quenched. Okay.
has been quenched.
Dude, this is fun. I know we're probably not, wrapping up, but this is great. And it makes me think like, dang, why don't we make one of these things?
Oh yeah, man. You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
Dude, this is what we always talk about, is putting in these reps of making these outlines of movies, because I don't know. It's just you get to the end, and this is not a fully, like, we don't have storyboards or anything, but this is like a firm foundation that we're like, compared to starting at zero. There's sometimes that I want to do off-air StoryFellas with just Zach that we don't record, because there's stories I actually want to workshop to like work on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think we've done that before. Actually, we've done some stories
and it's
unaired
always,
where it's just the exercise.
We have done that. We've done. I'll let you just lose sleep over that, audience. That there are unrecorded episodes of StoryFellas with amazing stories that you'll never hear, the best ones that we're keeping to ourselves. But no, there's. I was going to say something about just how fun this is, and it does have like a real life, like we are mining our own creativity here to get to something to eventually make it. So
it's like
I
a
totally
rock
agree.
tumbler, man. Like it's just like throwing
yeah.
ideas and shaking them for an hour plus until we have something that's shiny.
Yes.
And we're like, oh, that works. We started with like a serial killer who went into dreams, and we ended up with Paul Giamatti addicted to dreams. And accidentally killing grandmas in the process.
Yeah, I love that though. And there's something, and this is the other thought that popped in my mind, is that it's because we find something emotionally true in every episode, like whatever it is. And so that's why when it came to the grandma thing, I'm like, I don't necessarily want to introduce this. Like it could be too dark, but it feels like it needs to go there. And that's when you know the story has life of its own. It has truth living inside of it. And it's like, I actually need to go here. And the fact that we said Thanksgiving to begin with, the tryptophan, the turkey, the sleep, all that stuff just like lines up perfectly. It just feels so satisfying when you can get it.
It feels very intentional. Like,
yes,
it has to be this and this and this. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it has great storytelling. I think has a sense of fate, has a sense of inevitability. The story is presenting itself, and it seems, but it also is surprising at the same time. I think that's so, man. Yeah, I love this kind of thing. Like you said, the rock tumblers, or as I've said in the past, it's like watching an ice sculpture, but the sculpture ends up being a Goomba. Or something ridiculous, you know.
I'd encourage anyone who's listening who does this, who likes to come up with stories, just like block out like an hour with someone who you can workshop well with, because it really makes a difference. Like, there's only so much you can do in your silo, and then like sometimes having, I don't know, maybe it depends on the type of thinker. I'm definitely a verbose thinker. Like, I need to talk through things to get feedback, to figure out how I feel about something.
Yes, same.
So
that's why we do this podcast.
Yeah, that's why we do this podcast.
Well, to land the plane here, the last thing we do is usually doing an along the lines segment. So that means we pull a line from the film. We've said a lot of them that are really good this whole time. Are there any that like stick out to you guys? Tommy, I think you wrote one down.
I really like. Well, Collin, do you want to say one before I read the one I've
and you can make one up too, Collin. Like if you have one off the top of your head.
Oh yeah.
No, go for it. Go for it, Tommy.
I love dreaming with dogs. I really liked his monologue of, I hate waking up because I wake up alone all the time. I think it's a very sad line, but it also speaks to the theme of the movie. It speaks to the dreams. It speaks to the sleep stuff, all of that. I like that. Did you have any other favorites, Zach?
That was the one that I really liked for sure. Just his monologue about that. I think is solid.
Well, Collin, I appreciate you helping us tell this story. Hopefully you had some fun along the way. If our audience wants to connect with you or see what you're doing, what's the best way for them to find you?
Absolutely. On YouTube at Collin Ausbury.
Nice. We will add a link down in the show notes, y'all, so you can find Collin easily. And I think we're stamped the story.
Don't sleep on StoryFellas. Check us out on pretty much every platform, really mainly YouTube, but wherever you find your podcasts, obviously you're listening to it somehow. But subscribe to us there, and we come out with an episode every week. So please reach out. We have an email in our show notes as well that you can send us ideas, thoughts on film ideas that we did, story ideas here, thoughts for future episodes. We'd love to hear from you guys. Again, don't sleep on StoryFellas.
Yeah, check it. But you could listen to it and fall asleep to StoryFellas because
it's impossible. They're too good.
They're too good. You're right. The scientists have said you can't do it. It's impossible.
Scientists hate him.
Well, guys, appreciate you all. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you, Collin, for being here, and we will catch you guys in the next one.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Thank you all for listening to StoryFellas, a part of the Pemmican Studios podcast network. Check out our show notes for bonus material, links, and more. To find out more about our current projects, send us messages, and suggest ideas for the show, go to storyfellaspodcast.com. If you liked what you heard, share the show with a friend. Word of mouth is the best way to grow this community. Until next time, go make and break those stories.